We hope this project will inspire other European classrooms embarking on a journey to be more innovative and creative. On a personal note, my own journey to be an innovative and creative teacher and school leader was inspired way back in 1999. The inspiration came from a man with a vision to adapt the technical display systems that were used in the corporate world for the purpose of improving teaching and learning in the classroom and for reducing teacher workload. I'm therefore very proud to now introduce that man, Tony Cann, the founder of Promethean, to share his vision on the future of European classrooms.
Well, I really am very, very pleased to be here. And one of the reasons is that my idea of heaven is to be in a room with several hundred teachers. Thank you. And just before I start, I want to point out that most of the slides are unnecessary, but I do realize that English is not the first language of many of you, and I want you to get my message, and it may just help you. The world today has many, many, many challenges. In fact, every day I seem to see more challenges. But we need to remind ourselves that the wealth of a nation is not the coal in the ground anymore. It is that the skills and knowledge of all the inhabitants. It is that more than anything else. And a good place to start is to improve this in the current generation of students. Another fact that stands out to me is that currently we do not nearly achieve the full potential of our students. At least this fact gives hope that we could do better. It is also probably true that all school systems in Europe are unlikely to get much more money for our schools. So we have to make better use of the resources we have. Digital technologies we have seen in this project can help teachers and students be more productive and make real use of that most underutilized resource, the students themselves. The ideas we have been developing at Promethean may look as though they are the future, but they're not. They're here now, and we are using them as part of our development in classrooms today. They are based on feedback to the students, and very importantly, we might forget this, on feedback to the teachers. And in fact, feedback to the teachers as well to the students is becoming extremely important. The idea is simple. A class is presented with questions on their tablets. If they get the answer right, they are presented automatically with more difficult questions. If they answer wrongly, they receive some explanation to help them get the next question right. All students answer in their own time, and typically, a good student will answer 15 to 20 questions in 10 minutes, reaching a level where they are learning. During this time, the teacher follows what is happening on their tablet, and they can look in detail at any question that many students had found difficult, or they can look in depth at a student that is finding the questions more difficult than others. All this is in real time during the 10 minutes. So at the end of the 10 minutes, the teacher is informed how and what they need to teach in the rest of the lesson. Now, why will this improve learning? I feel I hardly need to ask this of a room full of teachers. But first of all, the students move to questions where their learning is improved. Just getting questions right does not improve learning. In fact, it can be a waste of the student's time. Getting a question wrong, then understanding why, and getting subsequent questions right is making excellent use of the student time. The technique also has another advantage. It makes sure that in the 10 minutes of the exercise, all students are working all the time of the exercise, whereas normally some finish before the end. Secondly, students get feedback instantaneously, whereas normally they don't know if their answers are right until they get their marked tests back, which can sometimes be days. It is known that not only is feedback important, but the speed of feedback is very important too in improving learning. Thirdly, the teacher can follow in real time, and they see immediately where their teaching was not effective, and also where the class and which students continue to have difficulty. They can split their class or repeat areas of difficulty and make a note how to improve that lesson in the future. All this is without marking. They can spend more of their time productively intervening where it is needed and not repeating areas where the class is proficient. All classes have a very broad range of ability. That is something that really surprised me as an industrialist. Even in very good schools, the range in any class is enormous. And the technique allows differentiated teaching within a class. I was in a classroom yesterday. It was a class of 10-year-olds, 30 10-year-olds. And the teacher was running 3 question sets simultaneously. So one group of students who were the better students had one set. Others had another and moved on to that set. True differentiation. This is the sort of thing that a teacher will see on their tablet. The green dot represents a question got right, and the division are different types of question. They have to get 5 right to move on to the next level. The yellow or orange dots show where the first time the student got it wrong and where they later got it right because of the feedback. And you can see some cases in there where it was orange and then went to green in later questions. You can see that some students, like the one at the bottom, is really good. So this is very important. The teacher can now make very informed decisions, but they can also look at any one question or any one student and follow exactly what they had answered. So they can see what the misconceptions are and deal with them. It is also known that peer teaching, that is, using students who understand something well to help others who do not, is an important way to use the student resource. It is also known that we often learn as much from teaching as we do from sitting in a class. The information allows the teacher to see which students they should use as the tutors. At the end of the lesson, the teacher can use a short question set to record the ability of the class, and also during the lesson, the teacher can, at any moment of time, ask a single question of all the class to inform themselves if the students had understood a particular point or were listening. We are currently working on the design of question sets, which will cover all the core subjects for primary and secondary schools. Our current thinking is there might be 4 levels of, say, 10 questions. The first level is below the target level of the lesson that most students can do, but it might contain knowledge that they need to undertake the lesson successfully. For example, language in maths, the meaning of the vocabulary to be used. Do the students understand it? So almost before the lesson has started, the teacher knows where they stand. Students are expected to get, say, 4 or 5 questions right to move to the next level, and the teacher can decide whether or not they should be allowed to correct their answer after feedback or not. The second level might be the target level of the lesson. And here too, they can move to the third level if they get, say, 5 questions right. And again, the teacher can decide the questions if wrong. Look at them. The third level might contain more difficult examples of the target level to test the more able students. And the fourth level might contain mastery questions using the basic lesson material. So here we have real differentiation, all the students being occupied the whole time, working and learning at their level. The real-time results, such as in this diagram here, this is a real live issue here, right, are ranked in order, the students at the top who need most help. It is interesting to consider what might be the learning efficiency improvement and why. To a degree, the process has elements of a student who has a teacher all to themselves. The teacher's on their shoulder. If they get it right, they say, try this more difficult one. If they get it wrong, it helps them work out why it's wrong. If they're having difficulty, they get help. It gives students enormous confidence, and they love being able to move to more challenging questions. It's like getting to the level in a computer game. And when students are undertaking these 10-minute, 12-minute exercises, the place goes absolutely quiet. The intensity of the engagement has to be seen to be believed. They like the technique because it is also confidential between the student and the teacher. High ability students move to the mastery level. They don't feel that they're wasting their time and cause trouble in the classroom as they do today. The teacher can see where the misconceptions lie and can, in the lesson itself, correct these, and by looking at the results, later can modify their teaching to avoid this in later lessons. We, too, who produce the sets, or teachers can too, can modify them so that they become more efficient. Teachers have no marking, so they can spend more time thinking, designing the lessons, and intervening. In speaking to teachers, they estimate to me that if students had a teacher all to themselves, one-to-one, they could teach the same content in about a third of the time. Of course, we will not gain all of this, but we will gain a proportion. The gain can be used to increase students' learning or broaden their education. The gain comes about because students are making better use of their time, and teachers can focus on the intervention with less marking. We will be designing question sets for many subjects, as I have said. In the UK, we have an independent charity that was created by the government the Education Endowment Foundation, which promotes scientific trials of education interventions. And we have just completed a 100-classroom trial over a 2-year period of this idea matched against a similar-sized placebo group. The results look good, but until we have the comparison with the placebo early in 2017, we can't really say how good they're going to be. Secretly, I hope that they will show a 25% improvement in learning. A world where every student has a tablet and all schools have Wi-Fi is some way off, even in the most developed economies. However, it is possible using special, less expensive handheld devices with locally generated communications to simulate exactly the same thing. It is also a fact that there are tablets coming onto the market at under $100. If over future years these ideas are going to be important in the improvement of our education systems, we need to begin now to experiment with them. Governments and some schools should begin these experiments. They can then have classrooms and teachers developing the use of the techniques in the same way as we have developed techniques in the first part of this project. Teachers need to be trained too, and the best resource for doing that will be the students themselves. They can train the teachers. In the end, the speed of adoption will depend on the improvement that they generate. Without marking, teachers will have more time. Larger classes might be possible as the teacher can follow every student in detail. Eventually, this idea should lead to improvement in the knowledge and skills of our students to make more successful citizens and economies. In Europe, I am still in Europe, and you are our neighbors. You are the people we work with, whatever. We need to work together to achieve this, and I'm sure we will. I just wonder if something like this might just be the next Erasmus project. Thank you very much indeed.